Hey guys, and welcome to the floral chicken tutorial. Real quick, I want to go over the list of materials that you'll need before we get started. So the first thing you'll need is a large brush or something to paint on your background. You'll need a small kind of medium round brush, a pencil, either a palette knife, or you can use a business card. I'll show you how to use both of those. You'll need a paper towel, a plate or something to pour out your paints, a cup of water. You'll need your graphite paper. You'll need your template. I already printed and taped mine together. And you'll also need a canvas. So whatever size canvas you're using. As far as paints go, you'll need a burgundy, a tan, a mustard yellow, white, black, and a green. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my graphite paper and I'm going to lay it down with the dark side facing my canvas. And guys, once you buy this graphite paper, you can continue to use it over and over again. You can use it until it doesn't transfer your image onto your canvas anymore. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of maybe put the top of the template with the papers kind of like right at the edge of the top of my canvas. And then maybe this right side, kind of center your chicken. Yeah, you really just want to center your chicken into the middle of your canvas. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil, or it can be a pen, and I'm just going to go over the outline of everything, and it's going to transfer the image onto my canvas. So if you want to hold your hand right here in place and check every once in a while, make sure your image is being transferred. And then right at the end, before you lift up your graphite paper, put your hand on it and check really good to make sure you didn't miss anything. So I'm going to go through, get this transferred on here, and then we'll get started painting. Okay, so once I get my chicken drawn on here, I can go back with my pencil and erase and fix any kind of mistakes I might have made with the graphite paper when I was tracing it. Or you can actually leave a lot of those behind and we can just paint over any mistakes you've made later on. Alright, so to get started painting, the first thing I'm going to do, oh, and I already poured my paints out onto my plate. So the first thing I'm going to do the background is I'm going to take my large brush and I'm going to dip it in my white and in my tan at the same time. So I'm going to get white and tan on my brush, and I'm just going to start, you can start wherever you want, but I'm going to start up here in the corner, and I'm just going to lay this down kind of in X's. And I'll keep getting the tan and the white. And kind of when it starts blending together a little bit too much, or I start running out of that paint, I'll get more. And you want to go at least to the lines of your chicken, if not a little bit into it. So with these colors, you'll be able to see, you'll still be able to see your pencil lines, even if you go over it. You just don't want there to be a white halo left around your chicken. So you want this background to look like it flows right behind your chicken. You don't want to go into your chicken too much, I guess around the edges, because most of this is going to stay white, and so unless you want that tan kind of showing in your chicken, I guess you'll want to actually just go up here. It's okay because we're going to cover all that up with paint, but when it comes to going around down here, you might want to be a little bit more careful to just go right to that line and not too much into the chicken. Now down here, I will probably just go right over these feet and just make your paint thin enough to where you can still see through it. And if you lose those feet when you go to paint that on, you can always hold this up to a light and you should still be able to see where those feet were. So I'm just gonna work my way. You don't have to do that part right now. I'm just showing you what I would do down there. I'm gonna work my way all the way around my canvas, just dipping my paintbrush in that tan and the white and kind of doing these X marks or just like these messy kind of little strokes filling this whole background. So let's go ahead and get this whole background done and then we'll come back and start painting in our chicken. Okay, so once I'm done with my background, I'm just gonna take my big brush and stick it in a cup of water. And remember, as we go through this video, I'm gonna move really fast. You can pause it after each step, get caught up, and then move on to the next step. So that's what's nice about a video is you don't have to keep up with my pace. You can kind of go at your own pace. You just pause the video or even rewind it if you need to. So the next thing I'm gonna do is just this area right here. I'm gonna paint this burgundy color. I think this is called the chicken's comb. This is all just gonna be burgundy. And as we go like around the edges of our chicken, we do the flowers and everything, you don't have to be real careful around the edges because we're going to have all those black lines going around the chicken. So any kind of mistakes that you make around there is going to be covered up. All right, so what I'm going to do without washing off my brush, I still have that burgundy in here. I'm going to grab tan and white. And I'm going to start filling in this kind of area. Now this is going to turn out different for everybody. It kind of depends on how much of the burgundy you have in your brush. But it's okay. It can be real red or it can be real, pale pink. It doesn't matter. I'm just grabbing tan and white on my brush at the same time. And I'm kind of bringing all of my strokes kind of up. That way, the brush strokes and the paint, it makes it kind of look like it's feathers. So I'm just filling in all that down there. And now I'm just grabbing the tan and white. And I'm going to start coming up. And I'm almost doing like little strokes. I'm making my way up to the top of the chicken. Up towards the top of his head. I'm doing all my brush strokes, kind of up and down. And then I'm going to go around this like it's a coloring book. And then I'm just going to finish filling that in. Okay. And I actually left my paint there's some bumpiness to my paint. I didn't smooth all of it out, because I think all that bumpiness kind of makes it look like feathers. And too, when it dries, it will smooth out a lot on its own anyways, once all the water is out of the paint. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start working on my flowers. And you don't need to wash out your brush or anything to do the flowers. You're gonna grab white and burgundy on your brush at the same time. And I'm gonna work from the outer side. And this is almost like little strokes, the same way we did those strokes going up for the chicken, I'm gonna kind of go around the curve of the flower with little strokes. And I'm gonna keep getting that white and burgundy on my brush so that my flower has that kind of variation in it. So it has some white, some burgundy. And then I'll show you a little trick when we're done. If you don't reapply the paint though, it's all gonna, you're gonna start getting all the same color. And like I said before, I'm not too worried about my edge here because I'm gonna cover that up with black later on. So once you get your whole flower kind of filled in, so I started with the outside and I kind of work my way towards the center. If you feel like it needs more, you can grab just burgundy and do some little strokes of just the burgundy in there, or just the white, depending on what color you want more of. So I'm grabbing burgundy and white. We'll do this one next. Little strokes. And everybody's gonna do this different. So don't be afraid if your flowers, or even your whole painting is turning out a little different than mine. That's okay. Everybody's hand kind of moves different. So it's okay if yours looks a little different than mine. It'll have your own style to it. And once again, if I want it to be a little bit more burgundy, and just come back with a little bit. And don't worry if it's like got some gloppy paint or it's thicker, it will dry. It might take it a little bit longer, but it will dry over time. All right, so I'm gonna do this little flower going around the edges towards the center. And then we'll do this one. Okay. All right, so I'm going to rinse out my brush now and dry it on my paper towel. Next, I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to be grabbing white and that mustard color, and I'm going to do these flowers the same way. I'm going to go around the edges, grabbing white and burgundy, white and yellow now. Working from the edges. And if you need to, you can grab just one color. So if you feel like you have a lot of, you have a lot of that yellow, you can just grab the white or you can just grab the yellow. It's kind of up to you and what you feel like your painting needs. Kind of went around that flower. Or you could even go over that flower and make it look like it's kind of behind the yellow one. And the same as before, I could take this and just add some little white strokes to it if I want it to be more, kind of have more variation in it. All right, so next I'm gonna grab, without washing off my brush, I'm just gonna grab yellow, and I'm gonna go ahead and fill in his little beak with yellow. And remember, the edges don't matter too much because we're gonna go around the edges with that, the black. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse my brush. And next I'm gonna start working on my leaves. So I'm gonna grab green and white on my brush at the same time. And the first thing I'm gonna do is kind of follow, and I'm just kind of almost barely touching the canvas. That way I get more of like a thin line. But if your line is thick, that's okay. Remember, when you take this home, or when when my video goes away, your painting is the only one that anyone's ever gonna see. So they'll never know what mine look like unless you show them. So they'll think that your painting is beautiful any way it turns out. So now I'm just grabbing green and white on my brush, and I'm filling in these leaves with that green and white, and redipping pretty often so that I keep that variation. Or like when we did the flowers, after you paint in a leaf, so say I paint in this whole leaf, I can just grab some white and do a couple little strokes of white, or I could just grab the green. So this is green and white. Maybe grab just the green. Okay, and then I'm going to grab green and white, and down here where his little legs are, I'm going to fill this part in with that green, white kind of combination. All right, and then I'm going to add a few leaves beside my flowers. So the way I like to do the leaves is it's just kind of one curved line going one way, and then coming underneath and doing another curved line, almost making the shape of an eye, and then kind of filling it in the middle. All right, so I'll do a leaf kind of right here, coming out from behind these flowers, and then maybe one more leaf down here, coming out from between these two flowers. All right, and you can add more if you want more of those. All right, so next let's start working on our little tail feathers. So the way I'm gonna do this is, and to get, if you ever need your brush to kind of become pointy, you can roll your fingers on your plate with the paint on there, and it kind of helps to bring all those bristles back together. But I'm gonna just follow one of these lines. I'm gonna start at the top and work my way down so I can rest my hand as I go on the canvas. So once you get one of those lines filled in with the green, you're going to take green and white. And the way I'm going to do the leaves is I'm going to take my brush, kind of come up away from your stem a little bit, push down and pull towards your stem. Push down, pull towards your stem. And you almost like, it's almost like a really quick little flick of the wrist, I guess. So you push down, pull towards the stem. And you could practice this if you have a piece of paper, or you know, if you have your tablecloth or something, you can throw like a disposable tablecloth, not a washable one. You could practice this before you do it on your canvas. So grabbing green and white, pushing down, kind of pulling towards the stem. And I have mine kind of angled. And it's okay for yours to look different than mine. Every time I teach this in a class, everybody's leaves turn out different. Sometimes people do more of a, it almost looks like a fern kind of leaf. Other people's looks like eucalyptus. And these are probably going to start overlapping each other a little bit, and that's okay. And it kind of angles down towards the stem a little bit. Follow the stem, and then leaf on the end, and then leaves coming down. So once you have all of your tail feathers done, now what you're going to do is you're going to grab green and white, and I'm just going to start adding some dots. So this is just kind of filler. I'm going to start filling in kind of wherever there's like leftover space. I'm going to just do these dots. These are optional. You can do these, or you could do them pink or yellow. I'm going to do some pink ones up here at the top of the tail feathers. Filling in any kind of area where there's a lot of white. And I try not to make any pattern with these. I try to make it real random. So don't think too much about where you're going to dot it on your canvas. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna take my black. Okay, the first thing we'll do, and if you, like I said before, if you wanna roll your paintbrush kind of on the plate with the black, it will help your paintbrush to get a nice pointy edge on it. And then I'm just gonna draw, I'm gonna try to touch my canvas very lightly. But it's okay for these not to turn out perfect. Just go over the legs. And remember, if you can't see where your pencil is anymore, you can hold it up to a light and you should be able to see it through the canvas. So I'm gonna do my legs. Actually, it looks a little too skinny. Make it a little thicker. And then I'm gonna do a little circle for my eye. And then I'm going to, I think I'm gonna start by doing around the whole chicken first. And the way I'm gonna do this is, I'm going to do like little lines that kind of connect with each other. So like little dash marks. And I'm gonna try to do them real random, some longer, some shorter. Kind of keep getting paint, because the more paint you have on your brush, it's gonna, you know, make a full line instead of kind of show the canvas through. So I'm just gonna go around the whole chicken and do these little dashes, little marks. And then every once in a while, I'm gonna let one kind of like float off. Just like that. All right, so let's go around the chicken and do all the little dash marks, and then we'll come back and do all the details inside the chicken with the black. So right here around the face, I'm going to kind of do the little dashes all the way around his little thing. And then I'm gonna also come on the inside here and do these little dashes all around the inside. Next, I'm gonna start, and you can do a couple little of these. Little floats. So these little things, these little floating ones, kind of make the chicken look like he's moving a little bit. So the next thing I'm going to do is kind of go on the right side of these little points coming down, and just give each one like a little black line. All right, just like that. All right, so next I'm going to start working on the flowers. And you can follow along with me exactly where I put all the black, or you can just kind of do your own thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by giving each flower kind of like a little cluster of dots in the middle. So I'll go through and do all my little dots first. All right, and then next what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go kind of around some of the flowers and some of the leaves and give them a little bit of black. So I'm gonna do like a little line of black there, maybe a little line of black on the bottom of this leaf. It's just kind of random. Maybe under that leaf, this leaf, maybe on top of this one. You could even run some down the stem. Maybe a little more here. And then around some of the flowers. So kind of on the outer edge of the flowers. Kind of helps for them to stand out a little bit. And then maybe kind of under towards the bottom of just some of these. Ones on the tail feathers. And like I said, you can do that as much as you want or as little as you want. It's really up to you. And they don't have to be, every time I paint this painting, I do them in a different area. so they don't have to be exactly where I put them. All right, so next, let's take our burgundy and do a little bit of some, highlights of burgundy in some areas. So I'm gonna take a little bit of burgundy and maybe put a couple little areas in this kind of hair, just little strokes of that burgundy. And then I'm also gonna do a couple little strokes of burgundy in some of these leaves, kind of coming down there. And then I'm gonna dip it in burgundy and white again. And I'm gonna dot on some burgundy and white. The same way we did with that green, I'm gonna dot on burgundy towards the end of his tail feathers. All right, I'm gonna need a little fresh thing of white. All right, and lastly, we're just gonna do a couple little white highlights and then you are done with your painting. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of white. Oh wait, we won't be done. We still have to do the border. So I'm gonna grab some white. And just in this little area, I'm gonna do a couple little strokes of white. So maybe one there, and a couple up there. You can even do one back here. And then kind of up towards the very top of his nose, do another little stroke of white. And then lastly, this is really important to make him look kind of like he's alive. I'm gonna do a dot of white inside of his black eye. Okay? All right, so now you could leave your painting just like it is if you want, or you can do the border with this kind of black messy look. And I'm gonna show you how to do it. If you have a card, you can use the card, or even like half of the card. Or if you have a palette knife, you can also use a palette knife. So I'm gonna show you with the palette knife first, and then I'm gonna move to the business card. Or you could use any kind of like hard paper. So if you look at your palette knife, this is the back part. So I'm gonna dip that in my paint. And you wanna get quite a bit on there, okay? And so this part, it just comes out the way it's gonna come out. There's not much controlling it. So however it looks, you just have to leave it. Do not try to move it once it's on there because it will just be bigger, make bigger, a mess. But I'm gonna put my palette knife towards my canvas and I'm gonna rest it on the edge. So right where your canvas kind of like goes, to the side, I'm gonna rest it here and I'm gonna start pulling down. And then every once in a while I'm gonna kind of like push it towards my canvas and then kind of come back towards that edge, all right? And however it goes on there, that's the way it's on there. I wouldn't go back and mess with this anymore because it will just make that black part bigger. If you decide you want more, you can always go back and add more. But once it's on there, unless you wait for it to dry and cover it with paint, it's on there. So if you're using a palette knife, this is how you would do it. You would get the paint on there, rest it on that edge, and kind of tilt it towards the canvas and then back off. And the whole time I'm running it along this edge, but I'm kind of tilting it towards the canvas and back off the canvas. Okay, so that's how to do it with the palette knife. With the business card, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this edge and you're gonna dip it into your paint. So you have it like this. And the same with the palette knife, you're gonna rest it on the corner of the canvas, so right where it starts going back, and then you're gonna kind of tilt it towards the canvas and then back to that edge and then towards the canvas and back. And you almost like scrape it. So you're scraping your paint on there. And wherever it goes, just leave it. This is a very not controlled part of the painting. Wherever that paint hits the canvas, that's just where it is. And so just kind of have to go with it. You have to be okay with it just doing its own thing. And you can always add more, but once it's on there, you know, you don't want to try to take it off. So I'm just getting the paint on the edge of my business card, putting it on that edge of the canvas and kind of tilting it towards the canvas and then back away. So it's almost like this, going towards, back away. All right. And then like I said, you can add more. So if I decide I want more right here, I can come back, but you can't control it. So however it goes on there, it's just gonna go on there. All right, so I think I like that. So once you're done with that, you are done with this tutorial. You can take your little brush and initial or sign it down here, or you can do that with a permanent marker. But other than that, you are done with this painting. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you at another tutorial.